We've got a tropical fruit stand in the Atlantic. We've got a lemon, an orange, and a cherry, and tropical activity only looks to continue to increase. Your forecast across the Caribbean and the Bahamas starts right now.
This is Meteo Mundo.
Friends, Rusty back here at Meteo Mundo. We're your home for Caribbean weather. We welcome you to the latest video. I hope you're doing well. A lot to get into. In the last 24 hours, we've had 3 different potential tropical development areas emerge. We're going to get into all of those, talk about the impactful weather happening across the area right now. It's a jam-packed video, so what do you say we get started? Meteo Mundo is sponsored by the leading law firm of Central Florida, your hometown homeowners insurance attorneys. It's storm season. A storm moves into your area. You get damage of any kind. They'll walk you through every step of the insurance claim process. Go to leanonmelaw.com if you would like more information. As always, we'd love to hear from you guys at the comment section below. Let me know what's been happening in your area. So 2 of our 3 potential development areas are going to be coming off of this stationary boundary. Now, at this point in time, that boundary is keeping these areas non-tropical, but the one in red that has a 70% chance of development is likely to become a tropical system in the next 24 hours. We have 2 different tropical waves in the Caribbean bringing more localized showers and storms and some very gusty winds, and then way off towards the west coast of Africa, another tropical wave is likely to emerge, and that's the one with the potential development as we get into the mid part of the week here with the area in orange. So let's touch on all of those first. We'll start off with the one with the best chance of development. This is our Invest area. The other 2 are not right now. This is Invest 95L. Look, winds are 40 miles an hour, and if this thing were a tropical true center of circulation, more than likely it would already be a tropical depression, but it's beginning to gather in tropical characteristics. And the National Hurricane Center does feel as we get into Monday morning that it will have enough tropical characteristics where there's a pretty high probability that we will get Tropical Storm Dexter. Now, the good news is that whatever this ends up becoming is expected to pull away from the Carolina coastline and move north and east of Bermuda. So at this point in time, only indirect impacts are expected, with some rough surf and sea conditions for the United States East Coast, kicking in some waves of showers and some gusty winds and thunderstorms over Bermuda, but again, not taking any core of any tropical storm strength winds over the islands or back into the east coast of the United States. But it does look relatively impressive here on our visible satellite imagery. Again, a little bit of lightning trying to develop near that center of circulation. You can literally see in the last of this high resolution visible satellite loop a big blow up of thunderstorms right there near the center and a little bit in the way of, again, some deeper convection. So looking more impressive right now on both visible and infrared satellite imagery. Now, this other area in yellow is down the road a few days from now, still off of this trough. And again, there is a boundary here in play. I can show you guys that. I'll put on the actual fronts here and you'll see that emerge right along this boundary. We could get another area to develop, but closer to the United States eastern coast, Florida, and of course, our friends here in the Bahamas. So this is one to watch as we get towards midweek. Back out to the big perspective here in that third area, we'll get into this one a little bit more as well, is from a wave that has yet to emerge off the West African coast. But as it does so, there is a 40% chance of development in that area. So 3 different ones to be talking about here as we go through the week. Now, that's the initial setup. We'll look at the models from all of these coming up in just a second. But I want to keep the theme of what's happening for today, and we'll start off with our friends here in the Bahamas. I'm going to bring on the current wind gusts as well. You'll see the temperatures pop on here in just a second, and then I'll switch on over towards the wind gusts. We've had some gusty winds here from time to time, especially in Florida. We've had a couple of showers and storms developing with a little bit of a sea breeze interaction here for the Abacos, Grand Bahama, Bimini. Andros has had some nice thunderstorm activity for today as well. That's what it looks like on the satellite imagery. What do you say we take a live look to what's happening right now from the radar out of Miami? And again, some healthier downpours, good lightning strikes there across Andros. Looks like Nassau New Providence hasn't had a lot of activity there. More localized rain for the Abacos and a few thunderstorms towards Marsh Harbor, Freeport, Lucaya, and Grand Bahama also seeing a couple of scattered showers and storms. That will be the trend for the rest of the Bahamas and the Turks and Caicos the remainder remainder of the day. The opportunity here to get a couple of passing showers. It's a little bit dry right now in the central and the southeast Bahamas, and then we've had some waves of storms moving into the southeast Bahamas, the Acklins, Mayaguana, especially towards Anagua and Matthewtown, and passing showers over the Caicos and portions of the Grand Turk area as well. Now look, there are some healthy thunderstorms just off to the north and to the east. And again, this is kind of a part of this very elongated system. Now, this is non-tropical in nature as well, but it's a huge mass of tropical moisture and a lot of thunderstorm activity. And if you live on Grand Turk or the Caicos and you look north and east, you're seeing that. If you also look to the south, you're seeing some thunderstorms developing off of Hispaniola that are trying to make a run there as well. Of course, we have our live cameras here at Meteo Mundo. So let's take a live look outside to central Eleuthera. Again, kind of in between where the storms are right now. It's a beautiful afternoon across the area, nothing but blue sky and a gentle breeze there at Governor's Harbor. Now, earlier in the day, South Caicos there are Turks and Caicos. Richard Stubbs sent me this beautiful rainbow. Some of the passing showers that rolled through the Turks and Caicos earlier in the morning hours. And again, additional showers and storms likely to try and develop here late afternoon and roll their way back into the evening hours. Richard, I appreciate you sending in that photo. Thunderstorms are beginning to break out over Cuba right now. We've had some healthier downpours getting going again here in Jamaica, especially central and the western sides of the islands the last couple of hours. I'm going to pause this loop just at the current time so you can see we have good, healthy thunderstorm activity right now. Westmoreland, Hanover parishes, St. Elizabeth parishes, St. James, even as far east as Manchester, and the Clareton areas as well. So central and western sides, so the interior elevations there, like Cambridge, on over towards Black River. Look at all of the lightning. Lucy, Negril. And again, it's just developed in the last couple of hours. This is a full 6-hour loop. So you'll see those thunderstorms develop in the mid-afternoon hours and work their way off to the west. There is a thunderstorm at sea advisory for the entire island right now. So again, boaters and fishermen, please be very weather aware. Once again, central and eastern sides of the islands have been relatively quieter from the Kingston area back towards Port Antonio and Morat Bay. But if my friends in Kingston caught a little bit of this activity earlier in the afternoon, let me know in the comments section below. Speaking of St. Elizabeth Parish here, if I zoom in enough, you'll see the Santa Cruz area, and this is from that area, Santa Cruz, St. Elizabeth Parish, Jamaica. Sadine McDonald sent in this beautiful shot. I want to get myself off camera. First of all, what a gorgeous picture, right? The higher terrain, then looking back off to the valley, and you can see that is a massive downpour. Just look at that rain curtain there and those low clouds moving through St. Elizabeth Parish. Sadine, thank you for sending in that photo to help tell the weather story here in Jamaica. Back out to what's going on. We'll swing our way east from here. By the way, Cayman Islands have been relatively dry. Not much happening there for today. Thunderstorms are beginning to develop and very prolific right now. The northern sides of Haiti and the Dominican Republic, from Santiago de los Caballeros and the Samana Peninsula towards Puerto Plata, north of Port-au-Prince, a nice little 30-mile-an-hour breeze there has developed. But again, even towards the peninsula, Lacaille, southern sides of the DR, Santo Domingo, Punta Cana, all with opportunities, some nice quality moisture in play. There is a few flood advisories around and north of the Santo Domingo area and the DR for today. So again, please be very cautious of some of that rain coming off the higher terrain and getting into the valley areas and causing some flooding issues because of that. We're just starting to see a few thunderstorms develop over Puerto Rico at the hour, and I promise you, my friends in Puerto Rico will welcome this rain. We have not just a heat advisory, but an excessive heat warning. Now look, temperatures today, they're not outrageous. They're upper 80s to right around 90 degrees Fahrenheit, around 31, 32 degrees Celsius. But when you factor in the humidity, the dew point, all of that, it feels like it's 108 in Ponce right now, 102 in San Juan, feels like it's 100 in St. Croix, 105 in Thomas, even Road Town Tortola feels like 100. So excessive heat warning for the feels like temperature for those folks who have to be outside on this Sunday afternoon. Again, just make sure that you're taking breaks and you're hydrating as you need to. Trying to cool things off right now from the Arecibo area back towards Aguadilla as well. Few passing showers are likely in portions of the Leeward Islands for today, but overall, overall, we are beginning to dry out. Those are, again, the feels like temperatures. These are the air temperatures for places like Anguilla, St. Bart, St. Martin, Saba, St. Eustatius, St. Kitts and Nevis. Not a bad afternoon. Again, most of the moisture has moved off towards the west, so we've dried out a bit here across the Lesser Antilles for today. Still can't rule out a passing shower, but generally relatively tranquil conditions across the islands, all the way down to the Windward Islands, St. Lucia and Barbados, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, my friends in Grenada. We're seeing a few showers pop up here in TNT, just a little bit better moisture down there. This is what it looks like on the infrared satellite imagery. So a couple of showers near Tobago, a couple of showers near Port of Spain, but they've been fairly isolated here late in the day. Live look outside to Corinth, St. Lucia, and again, you can see that sunshine glaring down, glistening there on the coastal waters. A beautiful shot there on the western side of the island. And again, fantastic weather. Expected to be relatively dry the next couple days. Same situation over Nueva Esparta. It's another great afternoon here for my friends of the ABC Islands. If there's been a brief shower, it's been nothing but that. I don't really expect there to be anything more than that. The winds continue to be a huge story. Bonaire, Curacao, Willemstad area, Oranjestad and Aruba, 30, 35, even 40 mile-an-hour wind gusts across the ABC Islands for today. Has that spelled any rain? No, for the most part. Just the thin, high, wispy clouds. Again, another live look to Aruba. If you guys like these live cameras, it's an exclusive we have here at Meteo Mundo. Appreciate you guys hitting that like button for me right now. Let's help pay the bills. Beautiful breezy conditions, but a gorgeous shot there on Oranjestad. And again, tranquil conditions, but that wind is quite fresh again this afternoon across the ABC Islands. Going to go out to the big perspective, just to be a little bit easier to zoom back in from here. Showers and thunderstorms breaking out over Costa Rica and Panama. They're driving up the coastline into Nicaragua and Honduras. It's been a relatively dry day across the Bay Islands. My friends in Uatilla, Roatan, and Guanaja. Dangriga, Belize City, just a couple of thunderstorms beginning to develop there, right across coastal and interior sections of Belize. Thunderstorms again, this is a large peninsula of the Yucatan, but we still get sea breeze activity, thunderstorms here developing, and you can see those from just inland of Cancun and Cozumel. They develop right along the coast, and with a bit of an easterly push, they're pushing inland. They'll try and make a run towards Merida and Campeche areas later in the afternoon and evening hours, but even a few localized thunderstorms developing over Campeche at the hour. Okay, let's get into the forecast as we do so. Thanks for taking a quick second and liking the video. Thanks for subscribing to Meteo Mundo. It's free, of course. You guys want these daily forecasts across the Caribbean and the Bahamas and your tropical updates. You have found your home. Appreciate all those who have found ways to support the channel. The memberships are open, 2 different tiers. Super thanks as well. So thanks for all of those. Let's jump right into the tropics. This is the European model chance of a tropical depression over the next 10 days. We basically have a guaranteed chance here with the system in red that I highlighted. And more than likely, we might get a named storm very late Sunday night or early on Monday. We pick up the orange area. And again, a few days from now, conditions look more favorable as it gets into the Atlantic Basin for development. Right now, the European model doesn't have much with that third yellow area, but that's the next area to monitor from here. So now we're going to get into the models with all of these areas that I just mentioned. So I'm going to switch over here. We've got a lot of different model suites to show you here at Meteo Mundo. Going to start off with the GFS model, and I'm going to take this out. Let's go out a week. We'll go out to the 10th. And again, this is not an outrageously long time. Just talking about a week's worth of time here. Going to show you guys the reflectivity, right? That's the rain associated with these systems. Then we'll look at the winds. Now, the GFS model does develop this system right here. Invest 95 out. But again, it's a pretty ragged system and not expecting this to become anything more than a weak tropical storm. Couple of notes. It'll be moving into relatively cooler waters here in the northern Atlantic. Just as it's developing, it's also just going to be encountering a little bit more wind shear. Now, could this still throw some rain along the Carolina coastline, the Delmarva Peninsula, towards Delaware and Maryland? Absolutely. Would we see the winds increase with some brisk passing showers, kind of squally weather for a day or two in Bermuda? Yes, but none of that is going to be direct tropical storm impacts for either area. For the area in yellow down the road, this one ultimately, as far as impacts to land, could be a little bit more interesting. As we get towards the latter part of the week and into next weekend, you can clearly see there's a bit of a spin here on the GFS model. It does try and pull the system back north and west, so developing it off of the coast of Florida and Georgia and the Carolinas, just north of my friends here in the northwest Bahamas, and then actually trying to pull it back north and west. But as it develops, you get southerly winds, and there could be a lot of heavy rainfall as a possibility for the Bahamas as this ultimately tries to develop. But again, that's kind of down the road, 20% chance at this point in time. When we look at the area in orange, again, it's going to take a while, but eventually this wave coming off the West African coast should emerge, should stay better organized. It's not fighting as much Saharan dust, Saharan air layer. At this point in time, again, we've really turned the page. Now that we've gotten into early August, that Saharan air layer ultimately shouldn't really stop these waves from developing. So as it gets into the central Atlantic basin, more than likely that's going to develop. Now the GFS doesn't have this thing doing anything outrageous, and it's really nice to see that northerly turn well before it gets towards the Lesser Antilles. Obviously, anytime it's east of the islands, we have to pay very close attention to it. But the fact that, already the Hurricane Center has a fairly, north track in latitude before it gets to the Lesser Antilles, and we'll look at the models coming up, it's not a bad situation at this point in time, even if it were to develop. Let's take a look at the actual surface winds associated with these areas, right? And I think the easiest thing to do, as this takes one quick second to load up, is I'm just going to drop the colored areas because it's going to be easier to see. Now, again, these are surface-based sustained winds, right? So anything that we have here could be something to watch out for. And you're going to see a couple of things that are going to be very interesting on the GFS model. First of all, this is Invest 95L. Let me get back to it here. All right. And again, you can see the time frame. This is your Monday. Let me just make sure I can query this. All right. So you notice these are sustained winds. All right. We are pushing tropical storm status here. I mean, it's really close. You got to get to 39. The GFS model has it very close. As a matter of fact, it might actually have the strongest winds. It's got to be near the center of circulation too, by the way, guys. I mean, it's close. Strong tropical depression or weak tropical storm moving away. You can clearly see it's moving off of the United States and New England coastline and off of Bermuda before it basically evaporates as it gets into the cooler water, as it meets some wind shear and it goes bye-bye. But let's talk about, again, the secondary area that could be even more interesting. Now, the GFS is much different than the European model based on this, but look at this system right here wrapping up as we get towards Friday of this week ahead and over the weekend. And it actually spins it up and makes a very strong system right near the Carolinas and the Delmarva Peninsula, Virginia, Delaware, and Maryland. And again, you would have yourself at least a tropical storm out of this, right? And it would be hugging the coastline and actually getting a little bit stronger. When you start getting into these orange areas, by the way, you start getting winds of over 50 miles an hour. So you would start to have a deepening tropical storm there. So it's interesting because off of this frontal boundary, we could ultimately get 2 named storms in the next 5 to 7 days. Okay, again, we'll have to see what the second area does, but the first one, which could likely become Dexter, I don't expect it's going to have any direct impacts to any landmass. Here's the next one, the area in orange, right? Again, now, there is a piece of that energy that tries to hold together some. What's interesting is that right now, the Hurricane Center has this building kind of north in latitude and getting into no man's land. But the GFS model is farther west with it and at least brings the mid-level center of circulation near the Leeward Islands, the Virgin Islands, and Puerto Rico as we get kind of towards this time next week, right? Next Sunday, you can start to see that coming in. There is a lot, I think, to come with this. There's a lot of uncertainty and unknown. But again, as I've mentioned, anytime that there's a stronger wave east of the islands, we have to pay attention to it as well. Now, there will be subsequent tropical waves coming through before this, which will increase the rain chance from time to time. But as far as one staying organized, it's about a week away to continue to monitor that. So that's what it looks like on the GFS model. This is the European model. Here you go. That's Dexter developing, moving away from Bermuda, ultimately beginning to die out. Here's our tropical wave in orange, and here's the one in yellow. So you do have development of all three on the European ensemble members. Again, it's not the deterministic model run, but the ensemble members, some of them pick up on development of all three areas. So Dexter, could this be the E name storm, the F name storm? We'll have to see. Now, this is the same run of the European model, just a zoomed in version across the United States East Coast and the northern Bahamas. So you can see, again, the first storm moving away. And then as we get into the latter part of the week, some potential development here right off the Florida East Coast, just north of the Northwest Bahamas. If that circulation can develop, stay offshore, obviously it would be stronger. If it gets pulled north and west into the Carolinas or Georgia, it would obviously not have a lot of time to develop. This is the HAFS A model. There you go. Again, Dexter coming out of the orange area in red, and another very broad spin here. Now the HAFS A model, at least through its run, which I believe takes us into early on Friday afternoon, a little bit of a kink here in some of the streamlines, but nothing extremely organized out of this. So again, it all kind of plays out with what the Hurricane Center is showing right now, where most of the models really pick up on development with Invest 95L, and then it's a moderate chance of development with the area off the Florida East Coast and also into the central sides of the Atlantic. So again, Dexter could fall by the wayside in the next 12 to 24 hours. Aaron could be coming our way mid to late in the week. And Ferdinand, is that a possibility down the road with one of the other systems? Absolutely. It's not out of the question that all three become named storms. But again, all three would have significantly different impacts based on where they're going to be. So that's kind of what my thinking is at this point in time, right? And if you live in any of the areas that I've mentioned, especially with this system, and if you live in the eastern side of the Caribbean or some of the greater Antilles in general as well, keep an eye out for this one. I've got you covered here at Meteo Mundo. We'll look at it each and every day. I'm going to get back real quick and I'm going to drop down here to just the next 3 days because we're going to get into our island by island rainfall forecast. Now, that's obviously the big story in town is what's going to be happening with these three storms. But we still have a robust tropical wave moving through the western side of the Caribbean, which will continue to elevate rain chances. And I know we haven't talked much about what's happening in the eastern side of the Pacific right now. Gil is fading, but we more than likely will have one or two additional named storms from these two areas. The secondary one late in the week, well, not really late in the week, midweek, the one really just coming off of the Costa Rica and Nicaragua coastlines here off the monsoon trough, that one can have more impacts for the Pacific coastline of Mexico, including Acapulco. Be monitoring that situation as well. But, the East Pacific has just been going gangbusters lately, I got to tell you that. But again, heavier rain likely in some of these areas. Some of that rain will build north through central sides of Central America. Another tropical wave is in store to move into the Lesser Antilles here as we get into Wednesday and Thursday. Rain chances will be undercut a little bit until then. We're trying to improve the rain chances in places like Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands and the DR and Haiti, which are extremely, extremely hot. Again, the excessive heat warning. We have a heat advisory for Turks and Caicos as well. And again, thunderstorm at sea warning currently for Jamaica. You can start to see the moisture beginning to kick back up again in portions of the Bahamas over the next few days as well. But nothing extremely organized with the rain chances. And again, my friends in Bermuda, passing showers, squally weather. More than likely, you'll get some kinds of thunderstorm advisories on both Monday and Tuesday. But at this point in time, not expecting direct impacts. So we're going to go through this quickly. Take a look at your area. Northwest, central, and southeast Bahamas, scattered to isolated thunderstorms. Same situation for Turks and Caicos. High daily rain chances in Cuba. A little bit more limited in the Cayman Islands. Belize City, a little bit elevated the next couple days, especially on Tuesday. Isolated rain for Cancun and Cozumel, that far enough north. The air is a little bit drier. Jamaica's rain chances aren't bad, especially central and western sides of the islands. What else is new for your afternoon thunderstorms, especially on the western parishes? 50% chance. Solid rain chances in the Dominican Republic, locally heavy rainfall, some flooding is a possibility. Still not a lot of rain in Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands, but should build in the rain chance a bit on Wednesday. Scattered rain across Bermuda, just going to keep it at a 40% chance for now. Anguilla, St. Kitts and Nevis, 40 the next few days, slightly higher in St. Kitts and Nevis on our Wednesday. Generally, though, we'll actually dry out a bit on Wednesday in some of the northern islands, but a 40 to a 50% chance for Antigua, Montserrat, and Guadeloupe and Dominica over the next couple of days. Then it's a 40% chance down towards Martinique, St. Lucia, and SVG. Slightly drier on Wednesday, just a few passing showers in Barbados, Grenada, TNT. Again, some isolated heavier rain, but for the Lesser Antilles the next few days, and I apologize, I should say Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I got it in the rest of the graphics, right? Yeah, okay. This should just say Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Sorry about that. For the beginning of the week in these areas, fairly isolated rain, many dry hours and locations, scattered rain in Suriname and Guyana, and again, lower rain chances, Nueva Esparta and the ABC Islands, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Sorry about that. Boaters, please be very, very cautious. If you do any boating off of the east coast of the United States or Bermuda, central and the western sides of the Caribbean as well, fresh winds just continue across the ABC Islands, elevating the sea conditions, 6 to 9, maybe 10 to 11 foot seas from time to time, easily 2.5 to 3.5 meters in some spots. Rainfall will be the other big story, starting to build in. Again, very heavy rain locally, southern sides of Central America. You can see some heavier rain trying to move back into the Windward Islands. Look at the rain down the road. It's not going to be until starting Thursday and into next weekend, but if we can start to see this spin developing, again, south winds feeding into this should provide potentially heavier rainfall across portions of the Bahamas, Cuba, Jamaica, other areas that could see locally heavy rain for the week ahead as well. Friends, I appreciate you guys. You can follow us across all of our social media, Instagram, TikTok, X, and Facebook. You want to send me a picture or a video like several of you did today, and I really do appreciate that. The easiest way to do it is mymediamundo@gmail.com. You have a specific question about the forecast, feel free to drop it in the comments section below. While you're down there, thanks for taking a quick second and liking and subscribing. And please remember that Meteo Mundo is sponsored by the Lean Law Firm of Central Florida, your hometown homeowners insurance attorneys. Look, you get hail, you get wind, you get hurricane damage, even a burst pipe. They'll walk you through every step of the insurance claim process. They offer free consultation and policy reviews. You literally have nothing to lose. Go to leanonmelaw.com if you would like more information. Friends, I appreciate you guys. You have a great rest of your day. I'm back tomorrow with everything that's happening across your area right here at Meteo Mundo.